And another thing is like, and things people argue is like, oh well, the division back then is. No, I think the division was stacked when he was running through it. Like that was probably the best we have seen the division as a whole till this day, because from 1 through to 10 there were just killers. There was Machida, there was Shogun Rua, and these guys were still young, coming from Pride and just destroying people. It was it was a scary time, and he was the boogeyman during that time.
Absolutely, and we'll take a look at some of his best moments in just a moment on the show. But Alex, I just want you to give me a name right now, okay? Just a name, no explanation. Who is the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world right now?
I guess I'll go with what the rankings actually say, right? So I'm going to take it.
Okay.
But look, man, you look at Jon Jones and what he's done and all that type of stuff. You know, that's. You know, you can see why his name's always going to be there as well. You know what I mean? Again, there's all types of conversations around that, but I'm going to take that #1 pound-for-pound. I'm going to hold it.
Well, if he wins this weekend, of course, I imagine you're open to the discussion of whether Jon Jones comes back. I mean, do you think that if he wins this weekend, will he dethrone you?
Well, man, he's moving up a Division 2, right? He's moving up and going for the heavyweight title now as well. So defending the light heavyweight championship how many times, and now he's moving up to against a real contender, like a real guy, you know what I mean? So he goes and takes that. Obviously, that's a conversation that needs to be had.
Absolutely.
And it's you saying that, like, it's just brought up, like, what is pound for pound?
Yeah.
Okay, because what is pound for pound? What does that mean? Because if Jon Jones finished up as light heavyweight champion and then moved up to 220? Moved up to heavyweight,
sure.
And becomes the champion there as well. Pound for pound, he's travelled a lot of pounds, like more than my hand pounds. He's so what does that mean? What does that mean as the pound for pound? What does pound for pound mean? Does it mean? Do you guys know what I mean? Like, does it mean if everybody weighed the same weight?
Yeah. Well, it's skill for skill. Like, take all weight out of it. And that's like, you look at the rankings there, right? And that's why Alex remains #1 over Islam, because if they were, they both weighed in at 155, but in the fair dinkum stakes, if you want to say that, if they were both literally the same, like on the dot, you'd have to say that skill for skill in a close fight, that Alex probably beats him, right? And that's why he remains there.
Because he's the dude moving up.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in saying that, like, if you... And obviously, pound for pound over the length of the divisions starts to look a little different, because, like, Bam Bam up against someone from the lighter weight division they can't be the same weight. So comparatively skill-wise, like, Bam Bam's not a speedy boy. Like,
You're right.
His ticket is he hits you and he's got great eyes.
Yes.
And whereas like that's why you see a lot of really high density skill packets at the lower division, like with much broader depth. I don't know. We're brainstorming here.
It is a tricky one. I mean, you look at 205, and then I think it gets to 250.
Well, it's 265. So that's the upper weight limit, yeah.
Well, there you go. That's a big jump.
Not that all of them weigh in at 265, mind you.
Yeah.
Not everyone's Justin Taffer, but you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, well, that's, again, so you're looking at that is a big step up, and they're dangerous. But, again, there's a lot of questions. I might be biased, right? Like, I'm going to sit there and I'm like, even though I'm sort of praising Jon Jones for stepping up such a big jump from 205 to 265, which I do. But then you look at, how competitive divisions are as well. You know what I mean? Like, so it's you got to look at that. But then you look at his resume as well. You know what I mean? Like, as we were saying before, he's fought the who's who. How many dangerous guys, as you said, back in that era, your Shoguns and Rampages, some of the most lethal strikers that with knockout power, and he was just mopping the floor with them. So all that has to come into play, and I'm all good with that conversation, because look at the body work he's done. But so it's definitely a question that's people are going to be answering this weekend, depending on what happens.
And it is a thing, though. Like, everybody debates the pound for pound things, but at the end of the day, you are the #1. That is your spot. We are going to see how Jon Jones comes back to the heavyweight division. And you were praising him for his move up, and I praise him as well. Yeah. But let's be honest, he's like 600. I mean, he's like 6'5", 6'5" with a wingspan the length of Stipe. We were speaking about earlier.
Stefan Struve.
Stefan Struve, like,
You know, I think it was
come on, it's not like
over 2 meters, like 2 meters 14. I think.
If anyone's going to move up and do well, it's him.
Especially with his wrestling credentials. If anyone can do it, it is him because he's so well rounded.
Like, and that's what his skill set is absolutely ridiculous, and his mental prowess, like his mindscape for fighting and for control, and
So we talk about all that sort of stuff.
Unbelievable.
That sort of does play into the pound for pound and why he should be up there. You know what I mean? So it's definitely a deserving, but feat if he takes out someone like Gane. You know what I mean? Because Gane's gonna be a problem.
Yeah. Well, speaking of rankings, let's take a look at our top 5 brought to you by Musashi. At number 5, it's a submission of Rampage back in 2011, UFC 135. Now, this was actually his first title defense, and what a performance it was. Leg kicks immobilized the big man, and Bones got the finish. At number 4, it's his KO of Alexander Gustafsson 5 years after they first met back in 2013. It was a very close fight, the first one, but the second one, Jones made no question of it. And at number 3, maybe, I guess, the best sub of Jones's career, the standing guillotine on Lyoto Machida, UFC 140. Machida was actually doing pretty well up on the feet until this moment, but Johnny Bones quite inventive there to get the finish. The first DC fight coming in at number 2, 2 undefeated competitors. Could Jones handle the wrestling of DC? Well, he certainly could, in fact, handle DC the first takedown of his UFC career in this fight, in fact. And number 1, well, I don't know how you could go past a record that still stands to this day. The youngest ever UFC champion, 23 years of age, back in 2011. Does it by knocking out Shogun at UFC 128.